Okay, we're going to do the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're live. How's it going, guys? Welcome to the show. Thank you so much. We're live on X right now. We're live on YouTube and we're live on Rumble. I have two special guests. I'm really, really excited. I have Daniel Goodwyn. He was a political prisoner of the Department of Justice and the Biden administration. And we have Marie Goodwyn, his mother, who was a part of the raid and everything that's going on with him. And they're trying to tell their truth. They want to tell their story of what happened on that day. And they have been gracious to come aboard the show. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to just let you guys intro yourself. Marie, you go first. Ladies first. Please intro yourself.
Thank you very much. My name is Marie Goodwyn, and I am the mother of Daniel Goodwyn, who is also here today. And because of him, because of his arrest for January 6th, I became very active. And one of the things I created with my friend Tim Rivers is J6 Patriot News. And I've been very involved in a lot of different things for J6, the J6 community.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I was doing a sound check. That is a beautiful accent. What is your where does your accent come from?
Yes, I am French.
Right on. I was gonna guess Francais.
Originally, yeah. But I've been here for 44 years, but I cannot get rid of it, so I give up.
No, never give up. Or no, never get rid of it. Please give up. Don't get rid of it. Daniel, I actually like your mom a lot. I might just like hang up on you. I'm having a good time already. So, all right. No, you are the star. Daniel, share with the group who you are, if they haven't heard of you.
Sure, Daniel Goodwyn. I am I guess I'm just mainly known for getting arrested. I actually got arrested 4 times, twice for election integrity and twice for not wearing a mask during lockdowns. So, yeah. I don't know. I think maybe a good way to intro would be for my mom to talk about how she was experiencing that raid that happened when they came, because I was visiting her on the way back from DC to San Francisco. I stopped in Texas with my family there.
Right on. Okay, so let's do it. Let's set the table. So that was January 2021, right? So let's take you back to that day. So you're doing your thing, just living your life. You're visiting your mother, and a battering ram. They use a battering ram to hit the door, right? That SWAT raid style. The FBI raids your home. And correct me if I'm wrong, they put everyone in handcuffs except for Marie. Because not for a lack of trying, you're just thinking they probably ran out. Daniel,
Yes.
you're arrested, or you're put in handcuffs. They try to put a mask on you, and you're trying to get some air. They accuse you of trying to chew through the mask or something like that, and they arrest you for
5 masks.
Yeah, so essentially, you were accused of being in the Capitol for 40 seconds.
Less than 40 seconds.
Less than 40 seconds, and they terrorize your family, pull you out like some sort of just criminal, which you aren't. That sets the table. Welcome to the show, guys. Okay, so Marie, talk about your experience.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty amazing. We didn't really understand what was going on. My husband came out of the bedroom, was put in handcuffs, and I came out of the bedroom and realized what was going on. So there were FBI agents with rifle. Is it not? Guns and
Yeah, like
pointed at us.
assault guns.
Yeah, and they rounded us up into the living room. They Daniel's handcuffs were actually very tight, so I asked one of the guys. They put a guy to keep an eye on us, and I asked him to loosen his. They're not regular handcuffs. They are what you call that, Daniel? A special
Shackles.
kind of shackles. So it was unbelievable. My daughter-in-law and my son, they had them get on their knees, put their hands on their heads, and they put them on handcuffs, and they had them back out of the house outside. It was January, it was cold, even though it's Texas, on their knees. Unbelievable.
In public, right? Your neighbors, whoever could see this.
Yes, yes,
Of
yes.
course, there's like all these SUVs, right? And they probably run 10 cars deep and make a thing of it.
Yeah.
Um, that's just so terrifying. And it was all because Daniel was in the Capitol for less than 40 seconds and peacefully walked out. And it's on
Yeah.
video. Peacefully walked out. And
Yeah.
they turned your life upside down. Was anyone injured in that, or hurt in any way? As far as we just want to know what the facts are. I mean, obviously, it was terrible. It was completely unnecessary. It just and this story is something I've heard many times. But did they damage anything? Was anyone injured? In this raid, except for the door, of course.
No, as far as I know, they didn't break anything or stuff like that. Very mild in comparison to many others. We have two ladies who had a miscarriage because of the raid. One was pregnant with one baby. The other one was pregnant with twins. They pointed laser guns on. I mean, not laser guns, but the lasers of the
Right.
gun at babies, children, mothers. So ours was pretty mild in comparison. The only thing I regret is that I would have probably tried to videotape as much as I could if I had known. Of course, I'm a law-abiding citizen. So is Daniel and the rest of the family. We had never had to deal with this kind of thing, so we didn't
Yeah,
know. But I
you
would
don't expect that.
no,
You're the family. So how many people? You said your Daniel was there, and then your other children were there.
yeah, my son and his wife, they had just moved back from New Mexico and they were looking for a house, so they stayed with us. And they were the first one. My son was the first one to open the door. No,
So Daniel, how did you feel when this was going down to your family? I mean, it's terrifying.
Yeah, it was definitely a shock in some ways. I was just going to back up a little bit and say
Yeah.
we did get it on Ring camera.
Okay.
That doorbell camera did get the front part at the beginning there. But yeah, she was saying to video everything while they were in there. And they also went inside and took pictures of everything.
Sure. Did
Yeah.
they search the house when they took pictures?
Yeah. They searched the house and only took pictures of
Did,
everything in
did
the
they
house.
present the warrant, or did they say we got to? Did they
Not
just?
until the very end.
Jesus.
I specifically asked for the warrant and they told me no. Well,
Right.
we'll
Of course.
see at the end, they said. But also, the fact that they were in our rooms where I have my office with my computer, what
Oh,
they could
they took your they took your tech, right?
They
they
took all
didn't
my
take
computers. They didn't take
but,
hers.
what I'm saying is that they could have put bugs on my computer when I was not in the room. I mean, who knows?
I'm glad you brought that up. Not to digress, but we'll get into this later. But Daniel, you're the first one that I saw. Maybe there are others where they tried to take away your right uh, talk on the internet, or they were monitoring you. Now we know they probably are monitoring everybody still. Well, maybe not now, but there was a court order, and they were trying to they were saying you're talking too much about things that were going on. But yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. Do you guys think that they might still be monitoring your access even now, even though the administration has changed?
There's really no way to know, but I was still not done. I wanted to back up a little bit
Okay.
more. That other people's raids that were also really bad. I just wanted to mention some people's raids had like
Go ahead.
flashbangs, and some people's like glass pane doors were like shattered. So there were other people who also had it pretty bad in those ways. Um, And then, yeah, you were asking me how I felt about that
Yeah,
on that day. So, for one thing, that there were reporters calling me like a week before and talking about a criminal complaint that had been made public. So I didn't really talk to those reporters, but then that
sure.
kind of alerted me that they were out looking for me. So I wasn't 100% shocked, but I was definitely shocked when it happened. But then also the FBI was calling beforehand, and somebody calls and says to the FBI, "Do you really know that they're the FBI?" So I'm like, "Okay, yeah, prove it."
Yeah.
So they prove that they're the FBI, like maybe send an email with a .gov or something, and then so I talked to my lawyer. My lawyer said, "Okay, if they call back, you can give them my contact info." So I gave them my contact info to my lawyer, and the lawyer told me that they had arranged for me to be able to do a self surrender, and the self surrender would have been a couple days later.
It makes a lot of
So
sense.
it was very shocking that they came, but in another aspect of it was that it was so early. It was like a pre-dawn raid, just like they did with Roger Stone, for example. That's probably how they did it for most, if not all. Well,
Yeah,
not
they're all
not
very
all,
early.
most of the J6ers. So, like, I wake up to hear yelling and them banging on the door, and so, you know, I woke up with my heart pounding. Pretty shocking.
Because you're like, you don't know what's going to happen if somebody makes they assume somebody's making like a quick move or grab. They could kill. Let's be honest. They're bringing live ammo. These guns, they could kill somebody on anything could happen. They could start
Yeah,
beating people down and make up a story. I mean, at this point, you're already feeling. I'm just going to take my liberty to say you're already feeling this is like completely preposterous as it is,
of course.
overblown. There's no point. And they tell you, and I want people to know this is the kind of stuff that was happening to patriots. The Department of Justice, the FBI, they were lying to people, telling them one thing and then raiding them when they weren't expecting it. It
Yeah.
happened to
What was the last question you asked? Because I went back to two different things.
cool. Oh, you're asking me what was my last question?
Yeah,
Oh, I was
most recent question.
The other question was well, you answered it. I was going to say, did they try to contact you ahead of time? Were you aware? So reporters were contacting you, and I also want to step out and say thank you both for doing this interview. I know that I want to say Daniel doesn't do a lot of media interviews, at least with people, and I'm not media, but I know that you're very selective, and Maria are selective. So thank you so much. And
No,
Daniel's in an airport.
I just troll the liberal media.
Yeah,
So I've
yeah.
done plenty of podcasts and interviews.
You don't take it seriously, which I really appreciate. So they arrest you, and you were put in solitary for 3 weeks, and they said it's because you tried to chew out of the mask because obviously the COVID hysteria was at its maximum height, right? So they were using that against you as well. Talk about that
Well,
experience.
they didn't say that's why they had me in solitary. They just said it was COVID quarantine lockdown, like as
Okay,
they're
gotcha.
doing to everyone, I guess. I don't know. I mean, how do I know what's happening to other people? I'm just in a cell by myself. But they didn't
Yeah.
say that was the reason. But
Okay.
the judge did talk about that later in a different, completely
Okay,
unrelated.
that's where I got that. Okay. So, Marie, when did they let you guys out of the cuffs? I mean, how long did they take Daniel first? And then did they keep you in cuffs or not you, but your family for how long did that go?
Well, no, they took the cuffs out of the others except Daniel. Daniel
Right.
was the one who, if I remember well, that kept the cuffs on. Right, Daniel?
Yeah, they kept mine on for a long time.
Sure.
The whole time, actually.
Well, yeah, until I was in incarcerated, and even
Yeah.
then, transport me around between cells and stuff.
So after the 3 weeks, well, how was your treatment while you were in there for 3 weeks?
Well, according to international law, it's considered torture to have solitary confinement for that long. And it wasn't like some people have 23 hours a day. I was 24 hours a day in there. Thankfully, the cell I was in did have a shower, so I at least was able to stay clean. But,
Yeah.
it was like too cold, and the guards would ignore you. I had a really hard time even contacting my parents, my lawyer, and I didn't know if I was going to be there for the rest of my life. It was just, you know, a very, very unpleasant experience. I had to beg for days before I was even given a Bible.
It's terrifying. And And you first, let's keep this in mind. You were at this point guilty of nothing. You were convicted of nothing, and you were in solitary for 3 weeks.
Yeah, and at the beginning of that, I was just accused of 4 misdemeanors. They while I was in there is when they added the fifth charge, which was a felony with a 20-year max, obstruction of an official proceeding, which eventually the Supreme Court overturned that they could even use that against any J6ers.
Right. And so your charges basically amounted to a trespass in the Capitol,
Basically.
which was 30 days. So before we get to that, so did you make
Well,
bail? Did they release you after? Like, how did you transfer from the 3 weeks to the next step?
I went into court and then they let me go to house arrest for the next 13 months. When I actually got the plea agreement where they dropped the felony, I ended up with a 2 months prison sentence.
And did you do 30 or 2 months?
No,
30
I
days?
did 2 months. It was 2 months minus 21 days time served from the um, pretrial when I was in solitary. So it ended up being two full months. And then, when you combine it together, and then after that, I had a full year of what they call supervised release, which is like parole or probation.
And that's where they had your internet access monitored?
Well, the judge ordered a computer monitoring restriction, and it was a little bit vague on how that worked. Nobody came over to the house to like put some software on my devices or anything like that. So we don't know if they ever did anything, or if they did something remotely, or if they ever started it, or frankly, if they ever stopped it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
they could be now for all we don't
Yeah,
know.
they could be watching this right now. So
But we did actually appeal, and we got a favorable ruling in the appeals court, but they sent it back to the district court, where they actually reinstated the exact same computer monitoring restriction again, and we appealed it again, but the court waited the clock out on it, and it was never ruled on by the time my supervision was over, and then they ruled it moot that we would even file an appeal.
right, but so they were just trying to tie you up and keep you in the system. One of the questions that I've had, and I'm hearing that, and you're also fundraising for J6ers, is the financial impact of what they did to you guys. Like, talk about that, and are you still recovering from that?
I'm still trying to recover from that. It was a $3,000 sentence, and it was $100,000 in legal fees, of which, since we didn't go to trial, we got about 13 refunded. I originally crowdfunded about a quarter, and the judge actually said that the prosecution they copied and pasted the number from the fundraiser and said this is how much that they should fine me, but they knew that I didn't have that much money.
I saw that.
The judge cut it down to about 10% of that.
Yeah, so they tried to hold that against you, that you were trying to raise money for your legal defense.
That's right.
So I read the documents, and when I read them, I was just stunned at how preposterous the entire thing was. And not just you, and in most of the, I guess, the sentencing dockets, it's completely like a Reddit file of like hysteria. It's all sorts of stuff that people didn't do, but they assumed people were doing. They threw stuff in there that other people, they accused them. They put the whole thing was preposterous. So your actual, I guess, indictment was maybe 2 pages, 3 pages, if indictment's even too strong of a word for me, but the charges, but your sentencing packet was a lot more than that. Tell me about your experience from, I know it's a big time gap, but from your experience to the beginning to the end of it, did you ever have a point in time where you felt like they weren't just trying to railroad you?
No, of course, the whole time felt like they were railroading me.
Yeah, I mean, like, it didn't even seem like there's a place to breathe. You even went on Tucker Carlson. So, and then let me take a moment to say that, guys, Daniel, I don't quite have your bio in front of me, but you are obviously in the Bay Area, and you're a web designer by trade.
Yeah.
And you are also now an activist, obviously, and you are a motivational speaker, and you're fundraising, and you're bringing awareness to what the government did. But you also have been featured in a lot of publications, obviously, because of this. And I do have your Instagram. I want everyone to follow you on Instagram. You were you were blocked from X. You're working on that. We're not sure why, but you're not on X anymore. But we'll get into that. But please follow him. So you've experienced a lot of national media. Obviously, a lot of things written about you that just aren't true because that's how it happened. Um, so you went on Tucker and you were talking about your experience. There's videotape of you being in the Capitol for like 38 seconds or something. So you go on Tucker and Tucker even asks you some tough questions. He's like, "Hey, did you do anything in there? Did you vandalize? Are you not telling us the full story?" And you're like, "No, this is the full story. There was nothing to hide." They even tried to use that against you in court. They added it to your court documents. How that. Talk about that.
Are you talking about in the sentencing hearing?
Yeah, yeah, they made a thing of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this guy was just this FBI agent was just like a total, I don't know. He had like Trump derangement syndrome,
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know. How would you describe? I mean, Mom, you were there sitting in that hearing. He was like saying like, "Oh well, you should have fessed up that actually you also talked on a megaphone during that day."
Right. Yeah.
It's like, oh, the crime of talking on a megaphone.
They tried to use, not to cut you off, Marie, and I definitely jump in, but you were outside saying, they put phrases that they said they had you say, normal stuff, man. Like none of it was anything other than like what a normal person would say in that situation. They tried to use your free speech against you and it, all that. Go ahead, Marie.
No, I mean that was pretty amazing that they would use this kind of things for him. But I wanted to say earlier we talked about surveillance and all that. Daniel had been surveilled for a long time because of an incident in San Francisco where he was attacked actually by Antifa person. But I think what needs to be done, the Patriot Act has been used more against Americans than it has been used against real terrorists. And I think we need to review that. And probably, I think the Patriot Act should go.
I agree with that. In fact, that's how they were able to detain you, right, Daniel, without any per weeks, the using the Patriot Act?
No, I doubt it. But anyways, I think that I should clarify. We are assuming that they had been surveilling me since that incident where Antifa attacked me. That wasn't written in any of my discovery documents or anything like that.
Fair enough, but
it seems like rather than going after the people attacking me, they just went after me.
Right. So okay, so you get through the trial, you get the sentence. Did you do the time in prison, actual state prison?
So I didn't go to trial because I did a plea agreement, and I went to
the process.
A federal prison, a low security federal prison in Bastrop, Texas, near Austin, the capital.
So how was that experience?
I would give it 0 out of 5 stars. It was better than the jail because I knew when I was going to get out, for example, and I wasn't in solitary the whole time. But like the food was just as bad, if not worse. I mean, it didn't really taste bad. It was just tasteless, totally bland. I was not able to review the nutritional facts of the meals I was eating, but I'm just going to assume there was barely, if any, nutrition value in that food.
They
wasn't mistreated there like other people were in other facilities. Basically, with the exception of the Trump derangement syndrome warden, who I didn't have much interaction with, everyone there, guards, inmates, they were all basically MAGA, pro-Trump, in their mindset and ideology and all that. But all the inmates there besides me were felons. I was the only one there who was just there on a misdemeanor, and they were so baffled by that. And I was like, well, if you're in DC, it doesn't matter what it is, it's federal. So,
well, true. Yeah. I mean, yes, on the grounds, and yes, in the Capitol, they can make it obviously much, it's all federal charges. Speaking of that, so Trump pardons everyone for the J6, obviously. So before the pardon went down, I saw a video on Instagram. I think it might have been between the election and then the pardon, clearly. And your stance was, if Trump doesn't pardon everybody, then we're gonna, that's not acceptable, right? And I don't want to put mischaracterize what you said. How do you feel about, obviously, the situation? You were pardoned and everyone was pardoned, as far as to the best of our knowledge. Are you satisfied with that process?
No, not 100%. I am satisfied enough to accept my pardon because he did free and release everybody, as far as Trump is concerned. But there were 14 people that didn't get full pardons when he did his executive order. They just got commuted. Since then, he has only pardoned one more of those people. So there's 12 or 13 more that need their full pardon. And also, we were requesting a pardon of innocence, not a regular pardon. So that's another thing I'm not fully satisfied with.
Okay.
Beggars and choosers. I'm glad to be free. I'm very grateful for what Trump has done, but it's not enough just to have a pardon. And also, there's still there's 4 people from J6 who are still incarcerated right now, but it's not Trump's fault because all 4 of those people have been pardoned. So we definitely need to get those guys out. But even if all those things, if I was satisfied with those, I still wouldn't be satisfied because that's not enough. There's 3 other things we need. We need reparations. I paid $100,000 in legal fees, so I need at least that back. But, there's a lot of other factors, which I'm not going to go into right now. But obviously, there needs to be money for J6ers. So that's number 1. Number 2, recognition. 4 people died that day. There needs to be national holidays, national monuments. A lot of patriots on January 6th were heroes that deserve actually to get a presidential medal for what they did that day. And number 3, retribution. Trump said he would be our retribution. So that means investigation and prosecution by the DOJ and the FBI. And I will not be satisfied until all those things have been accomplished.
That's powerful. I love what you're saying. The monument. I've never thought about monuments and medals, and that's powerful because, if any, I went into this with an open mind when I started looking to what happened to everybody. And this room I'm sitting in now, I was watching that on TV, and I was like, oh wow, it was going down, right? We all were watching it, of course, and you were living it. And I just never really bought into the narrative at all. And overnight, I thought Trump won. We were all shocked. And even now, 20 million voters they can't find in the right? None of it. We know the FBI. What's that?
3 times now.
What's that?
Trump did win.
Yeah. So yes. So we're looking at right. So we're all looking at what happened, and everything they did in 2020. We now know that affected the election, and we know that they had FBI in the crowd. We know, right? We know. So so now I am completely convinced that the fraud was on, the scam was on, and I've been convinced for a long time. But that was part of my journey, and that's why I'm bringing these stories to folks so they can hear from the patriots. These are patriots who went out there to protest the election. And they were all politically damaged, and they tried to destroy their lives. So talk about, now we obviously know that you've been going through years and years of trying to rebuild your finances and your reputation, and you're also now an activist to bring the truth. Talk about, so after you got out and up to this point, talk about that journey and how your life has changed.
Well, I was already doing a little bit of activism beforehand with David Summerall at StopHate.com, and 2019, we did a few big free speech rallies, demand free speech in San Francisco, Washington, D.C., and Miami. So we had already been connected in with people who are getting banned and censored, and in with people who are doing Stop the Steal type things, and with the Proud Boys and stuff like that. So I was already kind of in the scene. The day after, I would say, my boss is like, yeah, we need to make a documentary about this. And I'm like, yeah,
right, you're a filmmaker.
Yeah. So, but what we ended up is by June, we were like, okay, we're putting this documentary out because he had an opportunity to participate in the Red Pill Expo. And so we decided to get it ready for by then. So we actually, I think, ended up didn't show it there because it had some sensitive things that all audiences wouldn't be appropriate for, like language and death and stuff. So
yeah.
We were just showing what really happened. So yeah, we showed that when everyone was afraid to talk about January 6th, there were not very many people or organizations that were talking about what actually happened that day. But we were like, we got to show what really happened. So we gathered all our footage from me, from him, from other people who were there, and our friends who were there, and things that were just posted online. We put it in an order chronologically, and then we synchronized it so where multiple screens are showing at the same time. So that's what we did, and that's how we got into this. We basically put out a January 6th documentary every year since then, And the one we did last year, Tucker Carlson said should be the most famous film in the country. And that's
right.
J6, The True Timeline, which is free for anyone to watch, just like the rest of them. It's about an hour long. So if anyone doesn't really get what happened on January 6th, they should watch that. But then we just put out a new one called Pardon Us. So definitely want to give that a plug. That's at pardonusfilm.com.
Yeah,
For the
sorry,
rest
I didn't have the graphic ready, but yeah, pardonusfilm.com. Go ahead.
The rest of them, you can just go to stophate.com/J6 and click on documentaries.
Or they can obviously go to your Instagram because you have that information there. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I was going to put the graphic up, so I apologize for that. I have not had a chance to watch those movies. I have seen some clips, but I'm going to dig into that. But I'm glad you promoted those. Man, you've said so much great stuff. I have all these questions, but I want to jump to Marie. Marie, how has your life changed? I mean, now you're active on X, and you're breaking down walls and barriers, and you're bringing the truth out. Because of you, we're doing this. I mean, so you've got influence.
Well, I was not particularly doing anything before J6, and unfortunately for the FBI and the DOJ, when they arrested my son, they woke up a bear because that couldn't be possible to stand by and not do anything. So anyway, I became involved with a group of J6ers at the time and met Paula Calloway, who started the Patriot Mail Project. So I don't know if you're aware of that organization, but the Patriot Mail Project started a list of people who were in prison. At the beginning, they were at the DC Gulag, the DCCTF, and John basically encouraging people to write them, so they would have some, outside news and some encouragement from people. So we started that, and the first year Paula had some family situation, health-wise, so she asked me if I could take care of the list, and I did that. So I was pretty much the face of the Patriot Project the first year, but Patriot Project did not exist with Paula Calloway. She's the soul of it, and we started a group trying to find J6ers that were not in prison, because I thought they were all under a lot of stress, being maybe in a house arrest or, being indicted is for somebody who had never had anything before. It's pretty stressful. So she said, yeah, go ahead, had those people. So every time I would see something on the platform, X or Facebook or somewhere, somebody saying, I know a J6er or I am a J6er, then I would contact them and we would add them to the Patriot Mail Project. We had people write to our PO box, and we never gave out personal addresses, of course, because of Antifa and other journalists that would do things, bad things to them. So people were writing to the Patriot Mail Project, to these people, and so the list became bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I started to think, they need some help with their fundraiser. So I started with Tim Rivers, the J6 Patriot News, and we started to put the fundraisers for people with their story. And then after a year of that, I told Tim, we need these letters to come out, because he had studied the American Guerrilla Chronicle on Telegram channel, and so we came up with the book, The American Guerrilla Chronicles, and the first one was Letters from Prison. So we had letters from prisoners that were written to people that shared them with us, and the second book. What is called The Art of Confinement. Well, I really love the title here, because we put lots of art from prisoners that are really good artists, Carl Fitzsimmons, Garrett Miller, Matthew Kroll. They're just amazing artists.
So cool. Yeah, I didn't know this was happening. Now, guys, follow right there. You can see J6 Patriot News. And then Maria's on X. That's your handle on X, right?
Yes.
That's how we got connected. She
Yeah.
great info on that, and I'm going to also underneath this show, and I'm going to repost the show later on with timestamps. I'm going to put all this info for the folks.
Yeah.
That's just, that's the lost stories of the folks that maybe weren't incarcerated, but their lives were still turned upside down and financially. The one other thing that I notice is there are so many hateful people creating all this fake stuff online, trying to permanently ruin everybody's reputations. And that blew me away. There's just rabid lunatic people just posting, blogs and keeping track of you guys and their names. They don't want to let this go. It is derangement. It's wild stuff. And I'm glad that you guys are combating that by trying to put out the truth. And that's why I'm doing this. I want this interview to be put out there and for people to feel like that there are people like me who just were like, what the heck? We're trying to figure this out. And I've looked into the truth, and I was motivated to tell the truthful story. So Daniel, speaking of all this, and let's get to what you're doing now. You're in the Bay Area, San Francisco, right?
Yeah, but I think you should let her say a little bit more because there's also a third book coming
Okay,
out
go
soon.
ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, sorry
Yes,
to cut you off. Go ahead.
actually, Tim Weaver is doing the third book. It's called The Road to Freedom, and it's gonna be great. It's probably gonna come out in April or May. We're still working on it, but the thing that is amazing in it that I'm proud that we're gonna put in it is pictures of people coming out of prison on January 20th when the pardon was issued. And
Liberation.
I myself and my
Cool.
husband went to a prison uh, in Fort Worth, Texas, to welcome two guys there, Jeff McKillop and Thomas Ballard. Uh, Amazing, we waited until 1:30 in the morning, and the prison, they really, drag their feet to let people out. But overnight, many people were let out, and so we have all those pictures, and I have a spread. A spread is two facing pages with pictures of a collage of pictures of people coming out of prison after the pardon. So that, to me, that's just the you know, maybe not the end of the story, but one of the big step in the story.
It's powerful. Wow,
Yeah,
so
and
powerful. Yeah. So, Maria, are you a publisher, or were you involved in media, or were you just like, let's do these things? Because all of these are awesome. One of these projects is awesome. All of them are incredible.
Yeah, actually, I worked in publishing in somewhat. I worked for a publishing company that was publishing curriculum for schools. And so I learned the trade there, and I became a programmer also for them later on. But um, because I have some technical programming background, but really the publishing part of it, that's what said, yeah, we can do it, and actually did the layout for both books, the first two. And the third one, I started it, but I have so many things going in my life right now. I told my guy, Tim Rivers, the author, try to find somebody else to do it this time. I'm still involved in
That's
it
a
somewhat.
lot. It's a lot. Well, look, they raided the wrong house because they didn't know that you were never gonna let this go. And I think that's really what's so powerful is they misunderstood the American people. They misunderstood all of us. They misunderstood you guys that we were gonna see through this bullshit. Sorry, my words. But and that not only was it going to wake us up, but it was going to empower people like both of you.
yeah,
So
well,
go ahead.
we're basically creative minded people, so
Yeah.
that's going to be our natural response, I think. But I think you guys should, the people watching, need to know that if, oh, hold on, I don't know if you guys can hear the over.
We can, but it's not too bad. But go ahead. We
It's
can.
very distracting for me.
That's
Okay, well, anyways, if people want to go get those books, they can go to, I think it's AmericanGulagChronicles.com, and I think .org is the website. They'll also lead you there, but the .com is the right one. But just so people know, stophate.com/J6 has a bunch of J6 stuff. It has the calls to action. Like I said earlier, it has the documentaries. There's also a button for books. If you click on there, not only does it have the American Gulag Chronicles, it also has a bunch of different books written by J6ers that are being published, and we're trying to keep track of those. So if more J6ers keep putting out books, then they need to let us know, and we'll add it to our page, the Amazon link or however they're publishing it. So that's just another thing that I think people need to know about. But the books, that the American Gulag Chronicles books, I think they're $45 each, and the money has been going to help J6ers. And basically, they have a board over there, and they will try to discern who is the most at need at any given time. Wow. So that's one of the ways that we're trying to actually, financially help but the money is like pretty scarce. I mean, throughout the time of the last 4 years, people have been buying these and supporting. And now that the pardons have come out, people are like, oh, I'm sure you guys are fine now. It's like, no, we're not fine now. We didn't back all those legal fees. People haven't had jobs for 4 years. Like, we need money pretty bad. So
that's why I'm doing this. And man, you're reading my mind. I was going to ask you about the fundraising, but also I was going to ask Marie, or I was assuming a portion of the proceeds go to supporting the families, the children, the spouses. People don't understand.
Tim and I did all this for free. We didn't get paid to do it, and the proceeds are being distributed to J6ers. So they come to us, tell us their situations. We've helped people go to DC for their trial. We've got people, we paid for rent, for cars, for medical and stuff like that. But like Daniel said, right now, the funds are very low. But I wanted also to recognize a few other organizations that are doing a very great job, like the American Patriot Relief. So this was created by Janice and Mark Middleton, who are both J6ers. And there's also the Stand in the Gap Foundation, and that was created by Sarah Maccabee, whose husband was also in prison for 4 years. And, there are several other organizations. Of course, there is Jake Lang that has helped lots of people also with fundraising. He has provided commissary for people that were in prison. Family couldn't pay for commissary. You lose your breadwinner. What is left at your house?
Yeah, like a lot of these families were completely destitute after this. And like what I put in my graphic, they tried to destroy everybody's lives. It wasn't just let's put them in jail. It's let's destroy their family. They knew what they were doing. The children that are affected, losing their parents, the families, the spouses, the breadwinners were gone.
Several guys had babies when they were in prison. Their wife was pregnant, and they couldn't touch the baby. They were just born. There's just some of them, they came out of prison. Their kid was 3 years old.
Just for protesting the election that we knew was bogus. So Daniel and Marie, why do you care so much about others? I just want to know, you have such a passion, because some people would be like, hey, I'm good. I'm doing my own thing. But you guys constantly think about everyone else. What motivates you to put their needs first and try to raise money for these folks?
My faith.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, my faith too, of course. And I was raised Christian by my mom and dad, so that's a big part of it. But I wanted to say that those organizations are really good to help, but you can help most of these J6ers directly. Okay. There's basically a Christian alternative to GoFundMe called Give, Send, Go. And almost every J6er that's raising funds has been using that website. So where I've been working at Stop Hate, we actually made a page on there, which is also accessible from stophate.com/J6, which is stophate.com/SHDOD, which is the Stop Hate Department of Defense. So we put up all the legal defense fundraisers we could find on there, and people can go there and just donate directly to whatever J6ers they are. And I'm trying to make that the most exhaustive list of J6 fundraisers. So if there's any that need to be updated or that aren't there yet, definitely want people to let me know. But I'm also trying to work on a way to make that page a little bit more useful by maybe putting them in order of, who's in the most need. But in the meantime, at least there's a bunch of links there, so you can click on them and read their stories there and help those people out. But yeah, I mean, one of the other things to consider is just that, like, I got a 2 months prison sentence. My friend got a 22-year prison sentence. That's like, how do I put my needs in the forefront when I've got those many people. And I still do put my fundraiser right at the top. But, you know, I'm trying to tell people that, like, hey, I'd love for you guys to help me recover from my legal fees. My parents have already helped me a lot, and I'd love to pay them back. But like, these other people are like in totally much worse situations than me. Like she said, people have lost children. A lot of people have gotten divorces, and some people just, they're trying to support their family, and they're losing a house, they're losing a car, all kind. My mom knows a lot more than me, because there was a big chunk of that time where I was under basically court directions to not really affiliate with the other people.
Yeah.
So I was waiting until my sentence was over. Once my sentence was over, I really joined a lot more closely into the community. I'm pretty deeply connected with a lot of the people. But my mom this whole time has been connected. And every time there's been a sentencing or an arrest or a conviction, it just hit her fresh. And it was, I could see her going through. It was very, very tough on her. So, I mean, maybe you can even mention some of these stories that I didn't think about of how bad people have had it from J6, or, you know.
I'm just getting emotional thinking about it.
Well, yes, there's a lot of suffering going on, and still today, people have a hard time finding a job because, if you give your resume to a company and then they Google your name, what's coming up? An insurrectionist? You're an insurrectionist, because the media has not stopped calling J6er insurrectionists, and they're not.
Yeah, can I just say it's disgusting that they use that word? It's disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
So there are families that have lost everything. As Daniel said, they lost their home, they lost their job, they lost their companies. Some of them had, personal companies that they were running, small companies, small businesses. But it's pretty bad. There's just a few that are doing okay, but the majority is not doing okay. And I also want to tell you that lots of them have PTSD. Yeah. Especially those who are in prison, have PTSD. Kids have been having nightmares of the raid, nightmares still to this day. So no, it's, and what shocks me the most in all this is that I still meet people that have no clue.
Yeah, they're brainwashed. There are people brainwashed by the mind virus, believing the junk that was put out there online. Marie, you said so. Everything you just said, by the way, I don't want to pass over it. Touch me. It really it's making me emotional, because Kyle Young went through that. I talked to him. He had the fourth largest sentence, and his kids were there. And how many stories where children were traumatized by the door getting kicked in, for people just being there. And then on top of it, just random idiotic lunatic people going online trying to dox people. And it was so frightening. So one of the reasons why I'm doing this, let me just say this real quick. It was so frightening when I was researching it, how many people were being doxed by lunatics that were anonymous. Mm-hmm. And how many people were not putting their face out there to attack you folks like you guys, but everybody else's face is out there being attacked. And this is why I'm doing this, because I know that and I was like, there are no videos out there where people telling their stories. So I'm like, I want to tell as many stories as I can. So when they do start Googling, at least they're going to see people telling their stories. So Marie, if there's anybody that needs their story told, let me know. We'll do this with them. I'm committed. I know I don't have enough time in the world to do it, but I'm committed to try to get the stories out. Is there anything else that we missed on the fundraisers? And continue to tell the stories. I
was going to mention just put yourself in the position. Well, one thing, if you watch the Dinesh D'Souza movie, I think a lot of people agree that's Police State. They actually show a dramatized version of a police raid. It's really probably the best way to understand what one of these police raids is like. Don't you agree, Mom?
Yes, and actually it was very hard to watch.
Yeah, right. I'm assuming all that just brings this up,
Yeah, some of these other J6ers had like I said, a lot more severe situations than me. But even for me, I feel like maybe PTSD is too strong of a word to use, but I definitely get like a cringe moment if there's a loud bang, or if there's like I'm watching a movie or TV and they go to like a prison or jail scene or something like that, or the handcuffs. I kind of cringe. I'm like, oof, yeah. I mean, be sent to watch those kind of things. I'm like, oof. But
let me just jump in and say, Marie and I might think that's a touch of it.
Well, just imagine being one of these little kids and they see a police officer. And, are they going to take daddy away? Like,
No,
just
Yes.
imagine little kids thinking.
I mean, I saw a video
I'm feeling
of
it.
Braids where the little kids say, "Mommy, why are they talking daddy?"
Yeah.
It just breaks my heart.
And just because they happen to be there. In some cases, Daniel, they walked in just like you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say there were people who got a little rowdy, but most of that
Sure.
is because the police started it, and so I don't
Yeah.
even really blame those people. There's a few people, and you guys can check out all the information that we have on Stop Hate or the documentaries. There's a few people who are agitators, a few people who are Antifa, but for the
Sure.
most part, it's just a bunch of patriots, and some people they just watch the cops kill someone in front of them. So yeah, I don't mind if they got a little, or they watch a guy get shot in the face by the snipers or whatever it was. So
Yeah, man. They don't. And then obviously, the young lady Ashley, who was executed, and which is so disgusting to me. Is like everything else is like blocked from public view, but they made that a thing. They wanted everyone to see
well,
it.
they wanted to scare
They
people.
they wanted. That's exactly it.
Yeah,
And thank God Trump was reelected, man, because like
yeah.
at least like that, God. But back to
Well,
the go ahead.
trauma-based mind control. I mean, what they do is they show you, oh, this is what happens if you're a real patriot, if you stand up to what the fake news says we should do, or the puppet administration says we need to do.
100%.
Guess what? You're going to get shot, or you're going to get arrested, or you're going to terrorize your family, or we're going to dox you. You're going to get canceled. And people talk about cancel culture, and they think, oh man, that must suck to have your Twitter banned. But no, I've been banned from like 12 different platforms. People are getting banned from like banking platforms. Like it's not as mild as you think, and the doxing is
No.
a big part of it too, because you get harassed too. It's not just
That,
like
that that's part of the canceling is it'll never go away online.
but not only that, uh, we just did an event in Monterey this week, and the news and the liberals and the redditors they got our venue canceled 4 times in a row. So we still kept the same date, but there was a very determined organizer, and she kept getting a new venue every time it got canceled. But 4 times. We had this thing announced maybe a month in advance. That's how far these guys are going. And then not only that, even though the last place they didn't have enough time to get it canceled, we went in there and did the event anyways. We had to have hired security, and there was a bunch of protesters outside yelling at us. And these were like they had like a Mexico flag, and they're like Norteño like gang members, and like just cringe redditors, and these terribly brainwashed trunk derangement syndrome people that they just completely believe all the lies about you, and they don't want to talk to you about it. They just want to yell at you and call you a Nazi.
Yeah, well, that's the goal, is to get the most vicious, violent, lunatic people out there, brainwash them to do evil things to you guys.
Yeah, and they were threatening all the elderly people who were coming in and leaving the event at the end.
It's right. Yeah, no peace. They're trying to take away your free speech by the intimidation and the look. Let's be honest. People have died. The threats are real. The threat of just seeing a protester out there and you're trying to go to one of your events and get the truth. The threat of violence is palpable, and that's the goal. So, do you want to take a moment to talk about the 4 people who passed away, or do you want to give them any, or we could do that?
Sure. Yeah,
A lot of
and
people
really,
don't know that. They think nobody was injured on the other side
of course.
except
Well,
Ashley.
people think that 5 cops got killed, but that's
Right,
not
which is
true.
bullshit.
What
Not
really
true.
happened with the police is one guy had a stroke the next day, completely unrelated, but the
Unrelated.
news said that he got hit with a fire extinguisher over the head, which never happened, and
No
video
video
proves
of
that.
it. Okay.
Video proves that didn't happen. They watched that same cop through the whole day. But anyways, there was a J6er actually who was there named Chris Alberts, and he saw the cop having a stroke and offered to help, but they had that J6er in handcuffs. He was a medic. So he actually was not able to help him, and then the guy had a stroke the next day and died. So that's Brian Sicknick, the officer. There's 4 other officers who later committed suicide. I don't know if they really did. It seems pretty suspicious to me. But you can read about those on stophate.com. We have an article about that. We actually have 2 articles about this topic. One of them, I think, is called Capital. It's a pun off, capital punishment or something like that.
Okay. Oh, got it. Okay. We'll try to find it.
4 deaths. the 5 deaths of 6th and 7th, because it includes Sicknick. The 4 people who actually died on January 6th, they were all Trump supporters. There was 2 women and 2 men. And everyone knows that Ashley Babbitt got shot by Michael Byrd, who then got promoted.
Yeah,
And still not.
it was an execution.
But a lot of people don't know that Lila Morris actually beat Roseanne Boylan to death with a police baton. And a lot of people don't realize that Benjamin Phillips and Kevin Greason, who they said had heart attacks, when Kevin Greason had a heart attack, there was a bunch of grenades going off all around him. So
Wow.
if people really want to understand this, they need to probably read the articles, but mainly they need to watch the documentaries we put out. And so we put out 5 documentaries. J6 True Timeline would be the best one just to understand about what happened that day with those people. So definitely recommend that people check that out. But yeah, it's really, they definitely need to be honored. They were doing nothing wrong. They were not aggressors in the situation. They were just gunned down or shot, or beat down, or grenades or whatever. I'm still not 100% sure on how Benjamin Phillips died. He fell down right at the beginning, but I didn't see what happened right before that. So if anyone has any other video angles, let me know. But when he was dying, the police were like, or the emergency services were like delayed because they were worried about COVID-19. So they're still responsible. If you ask me, the police are responsible for all 4 of those deaths that day, no matter how you spin it.
Well, they blame you guys just for being there for everything. So the shoe is on the other foot as well. They're responsible for those innocent people. Now, Marie, side note, if you could definitely get me the links to a lot of the information and the movies, because I want to make sure it's available on my Twitter or my X feed for my folks. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate that. And also back to when you're trying to, I'm in Northern California, by the way. I don't know if I made that clear.
Oh, cool.
So when I saw you're in Monterey and you're doing stuff in SF, I'm like, right on, man. And people, let's keep this in mind. There were 20, 30, maybe even 4 FBI agents, agent provocateurs in the crowd. Yeah, that's just what we know of. So the violence was completely manufactured and started, in my opinion, this is my opinion, by the FBI and CIA. That's my opinion.
Well, you should just watch the movies. You'll realize what really happened, because there were police snipers shooting into the crowd at 107. There wasn't really any violence that happened before that. So you can't say that anything wasn't instigated by the police. It's just forward by that.
And this is all me researching it.
Undercover people. But we do have a page on StopHate. Like I said, StopHate.com/J6. We do have a page about secret agents, and you can go in there and read the names of some of the secret agents that was written and covered in the actual court documents. So that's irrefutable. So people want to talk about all the speculation of whether or not Ray Epps was a Fed. Well, it doesn't even matter whether or not Ray Epps was a Fed, because we've got a list of the people who were Feds. So we know there were some. The question isn't was there Feds, is how many Feds were they and what were they doing.
Now, we're at about an hour. Do you guys have a few more minutes?
Sure, yeah. I think you wanted to talk more about my San Francisco stuff.
Yeah, perfect segue. Let's jump in. Now, obviously, there's a lot more we could talk about. You guys are welcome to definitely do this again. It's a lot of fun in the future. Any big events you have, let me know. I want to make sure people are aware. Let's talk. So you're in San Francisco now. Explain to me. There's been a lot of media misinformation on what you're doing out there, because that's what they do. They're now starting to key in on you, and every time something happens in the news, they say all sorts of preposterous things about you. They call you a terrorist. They call you an insurrectionist. All these things. Talk about what's going on in San Francisco and the work that you're doing to bring awareness.
Well, I mean, I definitely bring awareness about January 6th here, just like I am everywhere else. But one of the things that I've been doing is we've been noticing that there's a bit of a rhino problem in San Francisco, as many places, and California. So, which means Republicans in name only. So if you look at the GOP in San Francisco, they basically have had a hostile takeover by a group funded by foreign money called Briones, which is a group of moderates. Some of them seem like they're, very liberal Republicans, or they're, maybe some conservative Democrats, or maybe they're just subversive Democrats pretending to be Republicans. But, they don't really have those traditional conservative values that most Republicans are in San Francisco would actually want. So we don't feel very represented. So I started a group, a chapter of the California Republican Assembly, and it's the San Francisco Republican Assembly. So if anyone's interested in that, they can come join that group. If you're Republican in San Francisco, and you can go to sfragop.org, and that's our new website, and there's a way to join over there. So
Awesome. Or they can go to your Instagram and see that. Man, I'm so sorry. I wish I would have had all this. You have so many places to go.
yeah.
But we'll definitely get this when I repurpose this, and there's going to be clips. That's amazing. So I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like you're a nightmare for them now. They're afraid of you because you have a platform. You're bold. You're courageous. You don't back down, and you like to troll them a little bit. So let's talk about this supervisor that is taking you on in San Francisco and trying to make it kind of a political thing. What is her name again? It is
Fielder.
yeah, right. She posted. Yeah, she even posted something on X that was completely wild. Did you see? You saw that, right?
No, let's pull it up.
Yeah, let me definitely find that. Talk. Okay, so talk about. I'm going to pull it up right now, and I'll show. Talk while we're doing that. Talk about the. Okay, so you bought on Amazon an ice jacket, right? So talk about that jacket and the controversy it stirred up.
Yeah, it's kind of bogus for there to be a controversy. I support
Sure.
law enforcement, so I was wearing a jacket to show my support. Just like many people would wear like a sports jersey to show their support for their favorite sports team. So yeah, I don't see anything controversial about that. But some triggered liberals wanted to write news articles about my fashion choices, and then the supervisor thought it would be a great opportunity to call me a terrorist and say that
Yes.
I was actually impersonating federal agent, which is obviously not the case.
Yeah, so you're just like, anybody wears, basically it was like if you're wearing a sports jersey, you're supporting them, and
Right.
it's hilarious, right? And you're wearing a hat, you're wearing a red hat that says, was it a Make
Yeah,
America?
it's obviously I'm not trying to.
You're obviously not ICE, right?
I'm not trying to intimidate
They
anyone.
somebody saw you, and obviously they're making a thing of it, and you're in the middle of you're in downtown SF.
Yeah, I was, I went to, City Hall to an event where they were doing some celebration of Chinese New Year, something like that. And, the sheriff comes up to me, hey, are you ICE? No, I'm not ICE. Oh, okay, sure, no problem. Walks away, no problem, right? Reporters
Yeah.
come up, take a picture of him. This guy's wearing an ICE jacket. He's impersonating ICE. And then I go to my Republican Assembly event. And then I go to the taqueria next door to eat afterwards, as one does. But now it's a big story that I went to a restaurant to eat wearing clothes. I think people go to restaurants to eat wearing clothes pretty much on a regular basis. I don't think that's a news thing. It's on the
Yeah,
regular
like,
news
and even the
because they
police said there's nothing here. It's
there's obviously
ridiculous.
nothing there. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
and
switch this.
well, I'm not even bringing it up like for you to
Well,
necessarily
scroll
tell
up.
your
What is
story
this
like
on
you
the
did
top?
anything wrong. Yeah, do you see it right now?
Yeah, scroll up. What is this in response to?
Okay, so
Let's
she
start at the very top.
yeah,
Okay,
right here. So she wrote. So she posted. So you haven't seen this?
No, I haven't seen this.
Yeah, crazy. Okay, so she said this dude came in all the way to City Hall today, waiting several hours
Okay,
for me to walk out of the chambers to accost and demand an apology
I did
from me.
not accost her.
Right, and I was going to ask you. I know this is a lie, by the way. So I wanted you to tell your side of the story because you're
Yes,
not
I
going
did
to talk to
an
the media.
apology. Did she apologize here?
It says, I got to say, no one is more sensitive, easily triggered than a MAGA bro. Okay, whatever. She was triggered. Okay, so she
Let's check that
says,
out.
you said I have the right to wear whatever I want.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you said that.
Yeah, of course I have the right to wear whatever I want.
She said, yeah, you also, that was her words.
No, she didn't say that to me, but I'm not a domestic terror. Oh my gosh, I need to sue her for what she's writing here.
This is what I was going to ask. Okay, so you didn't see it. This is a thing now. Like people are talking about it, and
Looked
obviously I'm
after
in
my
NorCal.
safety. I'm not unsafe. I need to sue her for that too. Calling me unsafe, calling me a terrorist, calling me an impersonator of a federal officer. She needs to be sued for these things.
I was going to ask you, or you got to get a lawyer.
Yeah, I got a lot of things going on. I don't necessarily have time to do that, but I do want to. It's on my to-do list. I actually meant to have already done it, but this is going to be something I'm going to add to it. If anyone knows a good lawyer, then actually please reach out to me.
You should. And in fact, I know she's not going to do it, but I'm going to ask her, hey, come on and talk about it. I want to bring her on the podcast, and I'll let you know.
Nice of her to talk about me on Twitter where I'm banned and I can't respond.
Exactly. She's a coward, and she's a lunatic. I'm just going to be honest, and she's one of the worst things that could have ever happened to San Francisco. This is despicable, and so I'm glad that we're talking about it because I didn't know you hadn't seen it.
Yeah, please send me the link to that.
I will. I will. So let me. So yeah, and I don't want to give her a lot of time, to like, I just don't. She's not worth it. But I was going to tell you, you should sue this chick, man.
Yeah, if you got
That's
a
crazy.
lawyer you can recommend. People are too afraid to do anything with us.
Let's see what we can do. Because first of all, calling you a terrorist right there in her public capacity, and then making a thing of it, talking to the media, that's defamation. That's it. And in her, she's using her official her city X capacity, her elected, capacity. So the city, I think, is liable for what she's saying as well.
Yeah, we'll sue them in tandem.
Well, I'm glad we talked about that. So you got the jacket. You're supporting ICE and all that, and you got it on Amazon.
Yeah, I got it on Amazon. My friend Brandon Fellows, another J6er, likes to wear his in DC, and
It's
a
great.
lot of people figured about that as well. But he sent me the Amazon link to buy it, so I bought one. And I don't wear it every day or anything. I just wear it every once in a while. And they want to make a news story about it. But then right after that, they went so viral that a bunch of people started buying them, and they removed it from Amazon.
Really?
You can find articles about
That's
that
I was gonna say, everybody, you should get like 20 people and buy them. And go to the same taqueria.
The taqueria had no problem with what I was wearing
No,
either.
they're just
Guy who was standing outside who snapped a picture.
Look, people wear despicable stuff that's not even no one says anything about. You were wearing something that's I consider a patriotic outfit. Hey, ICE is something that is part of what we're doing, and the government, it's an official government. People wear FBI stuff all the time. I was in DC, as you know. You can go to any shop and buy FBI, the seal of the
my
president.
dad bought one of those hats.
Yeah, I actually haven't. I bought one when I was in DC. In fact, what's interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, so, and I've worn it. I'll tell you what, when I go to the bar and wear that hat, the ladies like that hat. I just got to tell you. Let me just, no, true story. So I got to tell you, I've been there. A lot of people talk shit. Sorry. A lot of people talk bad things about the situation, right? I want this video to go out, so I don't want to say curse words. But I've been there. I've been on the Capitol. I went there after it went down like a year or so later, and I stood there and I was like, now they have barriers up and they're still making a thing of it, right? At this time. Right. It is ridiculous.
Not now,
and I stood there and I was like, this is so small. Like, and I could see how like you could just walk around it. Like, come on. Like, I was just, when you have to go there to really understand like what was going on. And everything is compacted in there. If you've never been to the Capitol, like they made it seem like everybody was marching and trying to, take the place apart brick by brick. Not even possible. And in fact, unless they let you in, you're not getting in.
That's right.
That's the thing people completely misunderstand. You go there.
It was also visiting hours, by the way.
Yeah, and it's the people's house, man. That's
now, frankly, if people had wanted to create an insurrection, we had so many militaries on the ground this day, they would have succeeded.
That's a good point. You made that point online. Go ahead and explore that.
We would have come armed if that was our goal.
Right.
Yes.
In fact, some of the people brought weapons and left them in their hotels. So what does that tell you?
It tells me that
wasn't our goal.
There was no intent, right? Well, and we also know that the feds were also trying to incite. They were working on it for months, and when you look at how much they were working on it, even before the election, that shows you a lot. It shows you a lot because they knew that there was going to be unrest or people, protesting the results. They knew that was going to happen. That's a whole nother story. So you guys are, first of all, I want to say thank you again. You're taking time out of your life. I feel privileged to have this conversation. And Daniel, I know you don't just talk to anybody. So I really appreciate that. America First, is that a hat people might want the swag? Can you buy that in your hat there? Can you buy that anywhere?
Oh, probably. I think I got it for my birthday or Christmas or something. I
Okay,
asked
cool.
for it.
Right on.
It's the America First Nick J. Fuentes website. I don't know if it's like AmeriFirst.store or something like. But you have to use
Okay,
it
cool.
to buy it because they're so canceled. We're all canceled.
Right. Now I'm, honestly, I might be, by doing this, but I don't care because it's the truth, and screw those people. I think
Yeah.
now it's time for those people to be really in fear of the truth. That there are people
Yeah.
like me who's a libertarian, who moderate, though very conservative. And I'm tired of all the lies, and I'm tired of all the scams, and we know what was going on. And when we saw that our government was acting like the Gestapo, and then they actually started doing it to people, and then people are still not aware of what they were doing to people. They were acting like a fascist government, they were putting political prisoners in jail like you guys, and 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 flexing and posing and frightening, like it's like if you wanted to get like a person to basically do the most fascist thing you could do with you would write that script. Maybe that comes out clumsy, but I have no words for it other than, so I just said, let's just tell the truth, then the truth will set people free. Last thing, you were talking about earlier in the beginning, the Trump pardons, and that you're not completely satisfied, if that's the best way to put it. What are you doing? What can people do? Is there any hope for the 13 or 12 that are still there? Talk about that, and we'll kind of wrap with that.
Sure. I was working on this yesterday with a patriot called Caitlin Miravar. She actually wrote the MAGA Mouse book, which is kind of a kid's version book about J6. There's 2 books actually now.
That's cool.
Which you can also find that on our Stop Hate J6 Books page. But we're working on a postcard campaign. She had done one for Jeremy Brown, who was a J6er who actually was being held even after his pardon for a long time, and he just recently got his full vindication. Okay. So pretty effective idea, and she's working with one of the 14 whose name is, I believe, David Morishell, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing these people's names right.
Fair enough.
But so we're going to do a campaign, and I don't know if they have bought that domain name yet. They were just proofing, the PDFs and stuff. So just be on the lookout for that. That's going to be soon. But in the meantime, just share, whatever to anybody you can. We need the general public to have the sentiment that these people need these pardons. We need Congress to. We need, frankly, we just need the president. So if anyone knows the 100%. President, the president's admin, or someone who knows somebody, like, try to pass that message along. Of course, he knows about it, but he's got a lot going on, and we need to remind him that this is front and center for us as the American people. This needs to happen, and the reasons why. And for example, one of my friends, Joe Biggs, I think he's a Purple Heart, and he's got a kid, and like, these people can't get their benefits from the VA or whatever. I don't know how that stuff works with the military people, but there's things that, like, they're not able to do because they didn't get that pardon. Or even, they got felonies because of this. Mm-hmm. So now what does that mean? They can't have a firearm or they can't vote, depending on what state they're in. So there's a lot of implications this has, and we need to get justice for these people all the way. So it's definitely a big priority. I think awareness is one of the main things we can do with that. But in terms of general, like, fundraising, stophate.com/J6 to stophate.com/SHDOD. Find the fundraisers, pick whoever you want to send the money to. We really need help. But I don't know. I mean, we used to tell people also to write letters to J6ers. Now we've got 4 people incarcerated, so I guess you could still send letters to them. I don't know. I actually haven't looked. Are they on patriotmailproject.com right now? Do you know, Mom?
I haven't looked at it, but I know that Dan Wilson is back in prison. So I just got an email from him from prison. So they need support, definitely.
Okay.
Cases
so
need
I
to
guess
be.
You could write him the same inmate number, the same facility, or whatever.
Yeah,
Marie, definitely let me know if there's anyone that also, there's a family member or someone that wants to come on, or maybe we can do a show later on that we can just talk about this in depth. Because I think that is the most crucial thing, is if they're still incarcerated, we need to do what we can, because it's just a joke, man. It's a joke. Wow, you guys are inspiring to me. I'm really inspired, and okay. So before we wrap, I mean, I could do this forever, but I know you guys have things to do on a Sunday. Um, is there anything we're missing? Anything you want to cover before we wrap up?
Yeah, I'll just kind of summarize a little bit. Well, of course, people can go to danielgoodwyn.com. You can find all my socials, including my Instagram. My Instagram, you can read in the bio what the feds say about me. I think they said I'm a prolific Instagram user or something like that.
Yeah,
But
you were gleeful, right? They also said you gleefully went in.
I don't know what that's about. But
Yeah.
when I talk about calls to action, it's mainly number one is pray, and I think that spiritually, that's the number one best thing. And then number two is the donations because we need that money. Number three is just to help raise awareness with this, in addition to like maybe if you can writing letters to the people. But yeah, stoppay.com/J6 is the place to go for those calls to action and to get that info, the documentaries, the books, all that info about secret agents or whatever you're interested to see. And yeah, follow us on our socials, danielgoodwyn.com, stophate.com, J6patriotnews.com, AmericanGulagChronicles.com. I don't know how many websites I should say here.
Keep going.
FRAGOP.org. That is if you want to do Republican stuff in San Francisco. Uh,
Get a hold of
Open.
you. San Francisco.
That's a documentary.
Not to interrupt you, but just so people realize, it's as bad as you might think it is with the control that they have over San Francisco. I mean, they're literally destroying Oakland. They're destroying the sports teams out here, all for the woke, and it's all for the more people don't understand, the more they destroy what we're doing, what people are doing, the more they can have control over elections and making money and over just power over people's lives. That's the goal of that radical agenda.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely help Daniel. I'm in NorCal, so I'm really happy to know that you're out here because it's frightening, man. So I didn't mean to cut you off. Continue, but I had to get that out.
Well, I was just saying open.inc/J6. That's ink with a K. That's where you can watch J6, A True Timeline, for free. It's about an hour long. That Tucker Carlson said to be the most important movie in the country, or most famous.
Well, I have to do my homework. There's a lot of things I need to watch. I'm going to admit to you that I really wish I would have watched more. I mean, of what you're doing, but I'm glad that we connected. Marie, we could give you the last word. Is there anything? I know we might be missing something. What did we miss?
No, I think Daniel is right. Pray for all the J6ers and their families, and support them with the fundraisers. And I just hope and pray that they will get their life back together. 4 years were stolen from them, from many of them. You cannot recover. I haven't seen your kids for 4 years.
Yeah.
This is lost forever. You cannot, when you lost a child like Mickey's mom, Ashley Babbitt's mom, Mickey, you cannot recover your child, and those who are divorced and all that. So yeah, pray for them and support them financially with their fundraisers.
Yeah, I can mention two other things actually. One is we do have a big chat room for J6ers and their family members. So if there's any J6ers out there who are not connected, we want to connect them to our community. And then the other one is civil lawsuits. J6ers are taking action against the federal government for what they did to us. So there's a few different groups doing this, and some of them there's class action, some of them they're going by individual. But all the info about that can be found also on Stop Hate if you click on the civil link there.
I'm glad you brought that up because that has to happen. That has to happen. It's and the more that we talk about it, the more it's going to happen or become reality.
I really would appreciate people to do the fundraising for us because that could take a long time. We don't know how long it could be. A year or 2 years.
Right. It could take 10 years.
People are losing houses and stuff. So
yeah, well, at least that's in the works. Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you for having us. That is so kind of you. And our stories need to be told. There are lots of people that have no idea that people spend 4 years in prison and that family have been destroyed. So yeah, thank you so much. God bless you, man. we're just very thankful.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. I'm glad we met. You guys are fantastic, and that's why I want people to watch this, to the real stories, the real people. So, Marie, you and I are going to connect. Obviously, Daniel will stay in touch. Marie, we're going to get the info out. And Maria, if there's anyone that wants to tell their story, let me know. Okay, if they're
Yes.
stuck and they're against the wall and they have nothing else is happening, let's tell the story. And I'll bring them on just like this with you or alone. Daniel, same thing for you. Let me know what you're doing in the future. One last thing, I'll let you go. Daniel, what is your next event? I know you're doing a lot of public speaking. What's the next thing you're doing?
I would have to look at my calendar. I don't
Okay.
even know.
Well, let me know. Let me know. I'll put it on X for you. Okay. Well, hey, it's been a fantastic time. I want to say thank you to both of you. I'm inspired, and let me know what I can do to help with the cause. You guys are patriots. God bless you guys.
God bless.
God bless you.
Okay. Take care. Thank you. Wow, that was a great interview. Fantastic stuff, man. I'm just really blessed. It's a great Sunday. Um, Connected, just to give you a little background, I connected with Marie on X, and she was just wonderful and just put us together. Daniel, I had not met him until right now, and so that was a really great interview. Um, I'm doing my best to get the truth out. And I know that when I talk about this, there might be some people that misunderstand my intentions, and my intentions are to get the truth out and to support these patriots. These people are patriots. Everyone that I've been to the Capitol, I've been to those grounds. Um, I was really concerned about the election. We all were. We all were. We were all confused. And there were concerns that there was going to be an attempt to definitely steal the election in 2020. And all of these folks went to the Capitol to do their to exercise their right to protest, which is what you see all the time. You see that all the time. All sorts of lunatic, radical people are protesting the most insane stuff all day long. But these folks went to the Capitol, the people's house, the people's property. We all are Americans. And they went there to exercise their right to protest. Yes, things got hairy. Things got wild. It was not an insurrection. That's a lie. You may don't not like me saying that, but I'm just going to tell you the truth. It wasn't an insurrection. That's not what that is. That's the lie. And these folks were persecuted and became political prisoners. That's the truth. So this is why I'm telling these stories on my podcast. And I cover a lot of different things. Talk about sports, talk about human interest stuff. We talk about true crime. We just have fun. But this isn't fun. This is a mission. And I'm glad that I can be part of telling the story. So if you're watching this and I'll tell you where to follow me. You may be seeing a clip of this. You know, who knows how you're seeing this? This is live on X right now, but it's also on YouTube and Rumble, and also Facebook. We'll be putting this on Twitch and also Spotify. This interview is going to go out to a lot of places. If you or your family were affected by the J6, FBI takeover, if you were affected, if you're part of the J6 family, or if you received a pardon and you'd like to tell your story, let me know. I want to bring everybody on that I can. We're talking thousands of people. It might be tough for me to bring everybody on, but I'm going to do my best to bring on the people that are willing to tell their stories. So thanks for watching. Follow me on Snap, IG, X, Rumble, YouTube, Twitch. I'm everywhere at Jason J. Daniel. On my TikTok, I talk sports. I have almost 8,000 people on that, but I'm going to post some of these clips on all of my social, and also you can follow me on Instagram. I want to say thank you to Marie and thank you to Daniel Goodwyn for coming on and sharing their story. Please like this post or like this story, share this story, clip it, distribute it, share this story, share this podcast. There's so much great information in it. I'm just really happy I did it. And That's all there is to say. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching the Jason J. Daniels Show, and have a great afternoon. Take care.